and welcome to Don't Feed the Geeks, presented by the Long Island Comic Guys, the masters of the geeky verse. Welcome back, Geek Freaks. We have an awesome episode for you guys today. Our interview with famous writer Jimmy Palmiotti. You know him for Harley Quinn, Jonah Hex, Painkiller Jane. Really great interview. You don't want to miss that one. And then we have a pretty cool closing as well. Ali from Elite Comics 11 is going to join us again. We're going to talk about AtCon, a few more Remedy tours. AtCon 2 and a few more upcoming Remedy tours. So you guys don't want to miss that as well. But we're going to do something a little different in lieu of the Geek Beat. We had a friend pass away recently, Tom Maletta, a former interview we had in the past of Best Comics International. He recently passed away a little suddenly. No one really knew. And, that was all our shops. I'm here. This is TC. Toy Story is also here, and JJ. And, we wanted to take this time to just kind of, reminisce about Tom and, Best Comics and what him and, his contribution to, the hobby really meant to us. So I don't know who wants to kick it off. Do you want to start this Toy Story? You
Sure.
Probably knew him the longest.
Yeah, I've known Tom a while. So I used to, in high school, driving home. I drove home my senior year. So I passed I went to Chaminade on Jericho Turnpike, and going back to Queens, I always passed by Best Comics. And I've always seen it. I was never into comics really. I was into the movies and stuff like everybody else, but I was always like, oh, maybe I'll stop in there one day. And I remember when the whole thing with Peter Parker dying and Doc Ock taking over, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that sounds really cool. I'm gonna go grab a copy of that. And so I went there, and it was the first time I went in the store, and I went to go get that book. And I think it wasn't the day it came out. It was like the week after or whatever. So it was already selling at a super, inflated price. I think it was like $40 or something at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. So I went in, and it was Tom. I didn't know he was the owner or whatever, but I asked him about this. I was like, I've never gotten into this stuff before, but I just heard about Peter Parker, and he's like, yeah, the first one, who's never read comics before, and he's like, what's your name, this, that, and the other thing, and I'm like, yeah, I'm looking for a copy of this book, and he's like, he pulls one out of the corner that's marked $40, and he's like, here's this for you, and I'm like, what do you mean it's for me? He's like, it's for you, read it, enjoy it, come back. And so that first book, my first comic book, he gave me for free.
That's awesome. And he gave you that one for free,
yeah,
too,
he did.
That's great.
That's really nice. And so obviously became a customer after that and went every single Wednesday on the way home from school. And then 5 months later, I was graduating, and we were just in conversation. We were graduating, and I told him I was graduating. And Zach, actually, Bojo, offered me a job there. He had already talked to Tom apparently a couple weeks before, and Tom was like, yeah, I want that kid. And I was a kid. I was like 18, 17 at the time. And so I started working there when I was 17, doing, eBay stuff, computer, whatever. And I've worked there ever since, and I'm 25 now. So yeah, it was like nearly
capacity at least, right?
Yeah, it was nearly full time for a good 4 or 5 years until I got a real job, obviously. But even then I couldn't stay away. I was away for a couple months. Yeah, my full-time job was my major. So I couldn't stay away, and I eventually came back after work. I'd work until 8 o'clock on Wednesdays, up until before this coronavirus thing started. The last time I worked was just right before they closed down everything. So I really worked there for a good 9 years almost, 8 years almost.
And what year was it you started working there?
2012 or 2013, must have been. Yeah. So I've known him a long time, and I had never had like a retail job or anything like that before, and so obviously he put me in front of customers, and he was like, "You're gonna learn to interact with customers. You're gonna learn to deal with a-holes." And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if that's me. I'm kind of shy. And he's like, no, you're gonna do this. And so he'd put me in such uncomfortable positions and make me do stuff I did not want to do and I would make mistakes, and he would ream me for them and yell at me and tell me how stupid I was being for this or whatever. But he'd always say, "You're going to thank me one day for this." And, you know, honestly, I would not be anywhere without him right now. Like, in terms of, you know, how he taught me to act and how he taught me to treat people and how he taught me to, you know, stand up for whatever I'm doing and stand up to him even, you know. The first time I stood up to him, he was like, "Wow, that's good. I taught you well." You know.
Yeah, I think he's a great person for those like type of life lessons. I mean, I didn't get them. You know, I was a little bit older when I started going there. But you know, I kind of, you know, saw a lot of you guys grow up. I mean, you and Courtney and, you know, Jake. I mean, you know, Zach was a little bit closer to my age, and you know, he had dealt with Tom for a while by then. But I you know, came into the shop at a very similar time to you. You know, I think, you know, I'm pretty sure it was March of 2013. I walked into the shop, and yeah, I've probably told this story so many times, but you know, I'm walking around, not really sure what I'm looking for, kind of looking for help, but not like saying that I was looking for help. And you know, Tom, you know, came over, he saw me, and he's like, "Hey, you know, you never been here, how you doing?" You know, very cordial. Tom was very good about making sure you went over to the customer and not necessarily, you know, like barrage them, but, you know, just greeted them, acknowledged that they were there. You know, I've been to so many shops where you walk in and they don't even give you a look unless you say something to them. And I always thought it was a good business practice to, you know, be cordial, say hello. You know, I told them what I was kind of looking for, and, you know, it was a lot of modern stuff. I was like, "Oh, you know, I'm looking to read this and that and that." He's like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Zach, come over here." So, you know, he had Zach like kind of set me up. But, you know, just being in that shop, I was so intrigued by like the old comic books. And he had like, you know, he had so many Spideys like on the wall, and, you know, he loved Spideys too. So like, you know, he would sell me so well on the Spideys. And I was, you know, I was real wet behind the ears back then. So he probably got me to pay more for a bunch of them than I did. You know, I said this, you know, we had a little kind of memorial between our, you know, close friends last night, you know, just kind of standing in the parking lot of Best Comics, you know, giving our best stories. And, you know, one of the things I said is like, you know, Tom was, you know, an old school businessman. He's the kind of guy who, you know, squeezed water out of a stone. And, you know, but, you know, he got a lot of different layers with him, like anyone. You know, there was times I went in and, you know, he just threw expensive books at me. You know, there's times I've gotten, you know, I got slabbed books, just he threw into, you know, what I bought. And then, you know, a couple times I paid $100 over for a book. So probably, you know, it probably balanced out in the end. But, you know, he was a guy I really did like to be around. It wasn't like, it wasn't in the store, like, you know, some stores you go in and somebody's working there, like, I don't want to go there, I'll come back another time. You know, Tom was an interesting character. He was definitely colorful. He had funny stories.
Yeah.
You know, it was just, he was so knowledgeable too. You know, being in the industry over 30 years, I mean, he had experiences no one else had. You know, he's been part of this convention and, you know, hobby for longer than most people have been alive. I mean, I think at least me and you, Toy Story, you know, he's been in the industry longer than that. So,
yep.
You know, he had more insight than almost anybody we knew. So, yep. You know, I appreciate him being there, and, you know, he's the reason we're all friends. You know, I wouldn't know you if I didn't walk into that. So, you know, it's so weird, and I don't know if.
And you wouldn't know Jim,
like, I'm not
if you
exactly
read,
because if I never
start reading comics, you would have never stopped him on the train.
Absolutely not, and I'll tell you why. So, I started reading comics digitally on my iPad before I went into a store, and then there was some ad. It's like, find your local comic book store. So I did that, and there was two that I could have gone to. There's one in Valley Stream, who I don't remember the name. I don't think they're there anymore. The other was Best Comics, and if I would have went to the other one, I would not have been buying comics now, because that place was disgusting. And I said this in our interview with. I did, and I'll tell you the story after that. But the thing I had to say about Tom is, you know, and I said this in the interview, he always kept the shop very clean. It was you guys were constantly, you know, cleaning off areas, vacuuming in the store. You know, what is it? You know, he was very about
presentation.
Yes. You wanted things to look the right way. You wanted people to act the right way, and that translates to your business, and people want to be in the store. I mean, we could be in there on a Tuesday and there could be 10 people on there on a Tuesday afternoon. It was somewhere where you didn't feel disgusted out by being, and especially for someone who's not like, a longtime comic fan, to come into a store for the first time and be like, oh, this is what I was expecting. I was expecting, basement creatures to be like, dwelling in there. And it's just like all normal people, for the most part. And, the other shop I went to, I'll just touch on that story real quick, is, I went in there, I picked a couple books. The place smelled, it was disgusting. Boxes everywhere. I picked out like 30 Spidey books I needed. I put them on the counter. I was like, I'll be back. And then I started looking for more. Didn't find anything else. I go back to the counter. I put like a stack of books here. And the owner's like, oh, those were yours? So I was like, yeah. He goes, oh, I put them in a box. He's like, which box? He goes, I don't know. I was like,
oh my God.
And I was just like, okay. And I left and I never went back. And I don't think he stayed open for much longer. But, Tom was just, he was a unique guy. I know you came in a little bit later, JJ. What was kind of your first experience?
My first experience with Tommy was 2004. I had my girlfriend at the time in 2004, which was my wife now. She lives she lived with her parents right around the corner, not too far away from Best. And I had shoulder surgery, and I stayed with them. They kept me at the house because I needed to be, watched and everything else. And I was in a sling and everything else, and I was in the house for a week, and I was getting, being stuck in a house for so long. I think I Googled.
They're crazy.
Yeah, I Googled, comic book shops, and lo and behold, there was one right around the corner, and it was Best Comics. And I remember walking in there. I was in a sling, and I wasn't feeling so hot because it was probably about a half-mile walk. And, I just came off a shoulder surgery. And, I looked at the comic books. I think Tommy came to me, he came to me first, said, hey, what are you looking for? I'm like, I'm just browsing. I just want, I'm out of the house. I'm just looking around. And then I picked up a Star Wars figure, and, it was brand new and carded in its packaging. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I was like, do you have any more? And he pulls out these boxes underneath the tables, and there was like, 50, 60 of them. And I think I walked out of there with like 30 of them. He's like, well, you need this one too. And I'm like, well, I only have one arm I'm trying to walk home with. And I think he gave me an awesome deal. And I literally, and I still have them. They're up in my attic right now. I still have every single one that I bought from him. But yeah, that was my first experience with him. He was such a nice guy. And, I was in a sling. He helped me out and, bagged everything up, triple bagged them so they wouldn't break open. Cause he knew, I told him, I was like, I walked around the corner. And, but yeah, that was my first memory of Tommy, in that shop. And I've been back and forth every so often. I bought books here and there. But cause at the time, I was living in Suffolk County, which is, a good, half hour away. So it wasn't easy for me to get to that shop. But anytime I really visited my girlfriend, I stopped in there every so often. And, he was always such a pleasure. I didn't know his name at the time. He didn't know my name. It was just more of a onesie twosie when I was going in there until I met you guys. And then, it opened up that friendship, which was, it's fantastic. And just like you guys said, he had his moments, but deep down, you knew he was a sweetheart. He took care of his friends or people that he knew that was close that would come to the store. Like, he took care of his good customers. And, you don't see that a lot. And, even though you may overpaid, for one thing, you knew eventually you were going to get a deal on something else. And,
exactly.
He knew I was into the Star Wars cards, and, I would get these text messages from, hey, I'm ordering this box, or I got this box for you. If you want it, come and get them. And, I don't know of any other a local shop that would do something like that, who just remember that this is what you like. So, hey, I'm going to hold this for you. And, even if I didn't want two boxes, when I'd go pick up the one box, he had my name on the second box because he knew I was going to pick it up. And it was just, again, something like that. You don't get that a lot. And, he was a good soul, deep down. I didn't know him outside the shop. You know, I saw him at the conventions and everything like that, and you know, it's a hectic, you know, environment when you're in that, you know, in those moments, and you know, I wish I got to know him more outside, as you know, not a shop owner, just as a guy, and it was good.
I got a lot of time with him for that, because he used to enlist me to go help him pick up collections and stuff. So like we'd take a drive upstate to upstate or to Pennsylvania or Connecticut or whatever to pick up all these freaking statues and whatever. So like we'd have, you know, those car rides, you know, hours and hours in the car. So he'd tell me all these like crazy stories, like Nicastro was telling us last night.
Yeah.
You know, he was
stories we can't exactly share on there.
Exactly. But I got to know him really well during those, and it was really good.
Yeah, he would pull out, you know, especially the days, and you know, listen, like everybody has their days, and you know, the comic book business it's tough business, you know, it's up and down all the time. It's, you know, what you have at the time. But you know, when he was having a good day, you know, he would tell us, you know, stories, and you know, he was really kind of almost a patriarch of this kind of dysfunctional family that we put together, you know, just by our mutual love of, like, you know, the comic book genre and, you know, geek culture in general. I mean, you know, we spoke about, you know, last night about how much he loved Elvis and, you know, Steve McQueen, and, you know, he'd buy like these, you know, Elvis figures, and he'd like be trying to push them on people for years. He goes, these are going to sell like hotcakes. I was like, yeah, maybe in the 50s and the 60s they would have. But it was like, I'll be honest, like last night, and you know, everyone who's listening, you know who was there. It was really great, and you know, we did our best to social distance, and you know, we had our masks
big
on.
circle.
Yeah, we did a wide circle, but you know, just seeing, you know, being in the vicinity of everyone, and you know, sharing those Tommy stories, those were really special, and it was good to hear some of the ones I never knew. I mean, there was a guy, the guy Rich, that was there. I'd never met him before.
Yeah, he worked back in Great Neck when the store was still in Great Neck.
So it was, you know, I think we had, what was it, like 15 people there?
It was close to 20, in 15, total 20 people. Yeah, it was a lot. I was shocked.
It was a big parking lot, guys.
And you know what's nice? And you know what's nice is you know, Mike from Royal came, and you know, they're two different shops, you know, they're competitors.
That shows how close-knit this community is.
And that's what really like made me happy. Like, you know, here we got a guy from a different shop showing his respect, and that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. We hope to you know, to do something else with them.
I think they're planning for something once all this is over.
Yeah, I mean, as of now, you know, we won't say too much about it, but Best Comics is going to stay open. You know, we have, you know, a few of our friends are going to kind of take on the mantle of, you know, keeping it going. We're going to try and help out and doing some stuff too. You'll hear some stuff later on in the episode with Ali that we're going to discuss working on. But, you know, Best Comics is still going to be there. And, you know, now more than ever, they really need you guys to kind of like call up, and you know, you can't go inside right now, but you know, check out their eBay page, you know, call the shop, see what they have, you know, new comics are starting to come out, you know, put your orders in. If you can pay right away. You know, this is our local shop. We're going to do everything we can to make sure they stay open. And, you know, if you guys, you know, no one can ask for you to do more than you can. So, you know, that's all we ask is you know, you do what you can, because, you know, we want that shop to still be there. And, you know, we want it to be, you know, a place where new groups of friends and family can, you know, come along. And
he would have wanted that to continue.
Absolutely. And, you know,
and keep Tommy's legacy going, basically. I mean, this is what he started, and you got to keep it going.
You know, I think he said it in the episode. He's like, listen, I wouldn't be doing this for almost 40 years if I didn't love it. It's like, you know, it's not, you know, it can be lucrative, but, you know, it's not like, you know, making billions of dollars a year. He goes, it's, you know, it's a passion project. You know, it's something that you love to do.
Yep.
So, I think that's, you know, all I have to say on it before we get too emotional. So.
Yeah, and you know, if you guys haven't heard the episode with Tommy, it's what episode was that? Does anybody remember?
It's from just a few months ago. I think it's from February.
I don't remember the exact number, but if you just guys go back a few.
It's the interview with Best Comics. I'd highly encourage everybody just give it a listen. I know somebody just recently posted on our YouTube page today that they listened to the episode, and he was extremely happy to hear Tommy's voice, and I got that email that with this comment, and it made me happy that we got somebody to listen to the episode, and it made that person feel good to hear his voice again. So
I have the exact one. Sorry, it's episode 34. It's titled "Interview with Tommy Maletta, owner of Best Comics."
It's perfect.
It's from February 16th.
Yeah.
So no, we're definitely gonna miss him, and he's leaving a big hole in the comic book community, and and in us.
Got to keep his legacy alive.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So
on to happier things.
Yeah. Next up, we have an awesome interview. Jimmy Palmiotti. Stay tuned, and hope you guys enjoy. We are very excited to introduce our guest today, a world-renowned comic book writer known for Jonah Hex, Painkiller Jane, Power Girl, and of course Harley Quinn. He also has a new Kickstarter that just launched called Pop Kill. Please welcome to Don't Feed the Geeks, Jimmy Palmiotti.
Yeah.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Thank you for joining us, Jimmy.
Why can't we feed the geeks? Why can't we feed you guys?
Because you never get rid of us. That's the problem.
Is that it?
Once you feed us,
keep
that's
coming back.
it. Yeah.
You're the first one to ask that question. We don't know.
Okay.
So did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah, Palmiotti. It's
Okay.
Yeah.
Because Billy Tucci tells us it's pronounced Mr. Amanda Connor.
Billy could be a dick, but I love him. He's, he means well, Billy. No, Billy. I've known Billy so long. There's nothing he can say that's offensive to me. Absolutely nothing. No matter what he says, he doesn't stick to it either. He starts giggling even when he's mad. He starts laughing at me.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Deb, you have to watch out for.
Yeah.
She'll kill you.
Yeah.
So how are you and the family doing?
We're doing good. It's just Amanda and I here. Her parents live down the road a little bit, so we get to see them. We check in on them, but we're doing good. I mean, I just finished writing the last Harley and the Birds of Prey book for Black Label, and so I currently don't have any Marvel or DC or any kind of work, which is kind of okay because I'm doing my own stuff on the side. Nice. And Amanda still has 2 issues to draw, so she's busy. She's got like 3 months worth of work. And I'm okay with her being the breadwinner for a while.
Get to relax a little bit.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm actually, I'm doing the Kickstarters. I got a couple of indie books I'm doing that I'll probably self-publish eventually or do Kickstarters for. But it's kind of nice to get a break. Of course, I don't like what's happening in the world. Of course, that's shitty. And, the virus stuff. This is the virus that, like, every day the information counteracts the last bunch of information we got. So it's really, I want somebody in charge at least to I feel like nobody's taking the responsibility of keeping us in line, kind of thing. There's no Roosevelt going on or something,
Yeah.
But I know eventually, I do believe in science. I do believe they'll find some information and they'll get it going and everything will get back to a weird new normal. And
it's just a matter of time. We got to wait.
Comics will still be. I mean, I don't like reading about Tyson Farms today, but then I'm yelling. I'm like, hey, Tyson, you make billions of dollars. Buy your people equipment.
Right.
It's like we're really seeing the division of greed. How it works in this world right now, and it's kind of sucky.
It takes something like this to bring that out, I think.
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, people putting money before people, I think that gets you automatically in hell, and I don't think it's a very comfortable hell. But that's a story for another day.
That would be a good one, though.
Yeah, it would be a good one. It's definitely going to be a lot of Corona-type stories out there after this, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to read any of them.
No.
But you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm going to want to do the opposite thing. I want to watch I'll read a Western or something else.
So the way we like to start all of our interviews is kind of getting our guest origin story.
Okay.
So like when you were a kid, what was the thing in comics or the geek genre? It doesn't necessarily have to be a comic book that really grabbed your attention.
Well, so I had 2 older brothers, my brother Vic and Tony, and so we had comic books around the house, and my neighborhood. Okay, because I'm older than you guys, so I was born in '61. So the years that like influenced what I loved was probably like when I was 8 to 12, and comics were 12 cents and 20 cents, but we had comic books everywhere. Like we didn't have cable, we didn't have computers, obviously we didn't have any of that stuff. So me and my buddies would sit on my stoop in Brooklyn. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, and we would trade comics. We'd read comics. I'd read Fantastic Four and Archies, and my buddy had Supermans and Hulks, and we would mark the back of the comics with our initials, and then we would read everybody else's books. And at the end of the day, we turn the books around and give them back to whoever brought them. But we shared all our comics, and then we'd have discussions: who's stronger, the Hulk or the Thing? And we'd have like these major discussions, like about Sue Storm, like if she's invisible and he could stretch everything, what the hell happens? In their house on a Saturday night. So I grew up like having this group of people that read comics with me, and we would discuss them all the time, sort of like you guys here.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it started out. We just started hanging out on Wednesdays together on New Comic Book Day. We would get dinner afterwards, and just, it grew and grew until we wanted to, get more involved with actually doing something in the comic.
So you guys met in the comic shop?
We did.
Yeah, most of us. Yeah,
Okay,
I met JJ on the Long Island Railroad. I saw him with a Midtown Comics bag.
Oh, there you go. You went over. Hey, you read comics too? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Really ballsy thing to do.
That pickup line works still? Okay.
Yeah, apparently.
But for like, I'll tell you who I met in the comic store. In my local comic store in Brooklyn was called. I'm forgetting it right now. Okay, forget. I'll remember it when I'm not thinking about it. But anyway, I met Dan DiDio there.
Oh,
Dan
cool.
DiDio was a guy that was buying comics, and we got to talking in the store. And then he told me where he lived. He says, "Yeah, I live near here. I live in this building." And I said, "Oh, you live in the building next door to mine?" And I was just inking comics back then. I was working for DC and Marvel, and I said, "Yeah, dude." I said, "If you want some comps, I get comps from all the companies. So if you want to take some books," and boom, he was there every other week taking every comic I had in a box that I didn't want because I got comps. I got a ton of comps back then. And that's how I met Dan. So that's kind of a small, another comic shop people. But when I grew up, so my brothers had comics. My uncle had a barber shop on Flatbush Avenue, and he had comics in there, and Playboys, of course, Little Annie Fanny, and all those great comics. And then when I got a little older, I was like, I want to collect comics. And there was a store on Flatbush Avenue and Newkirk Avenue called My Friend's Bookstore. And it had 1 billion comics in it. As a matter of fact, Paul Levitz worked there when he was a kid. He was the guy that would get on the ladder and go get the white box and pull it out if you were looking for a back issue.
Wow.
That was Paul Levitz. And I went there and I was like, okay, I want to collect Fantastic Four. So I bought every issue from 1 to 120, and I would shovel snow in Brooklyn, and I'd go there and I'd say, I need number 14, Fantastic Four 14 and Spider-Man 12, and they would pull the boxes out and he'd put them all on the table, and then I would pick out the copy I wanted. And I remember the most money I ever paid for a comic, and it was later on, was $60, and I paid for a super, super mint copy of Fantastic Four #1. I'm talking about, this was the whitest, most beautiful copy. And then when I was 16, I sold that copy for over $1,000.
Wow.
And I bought a Gran Torino with it, a used Gran Torino. And that was like my hotel on wheels for a while. I discovered girls and said, well, comics can take a break for a while.
Yeah. And no one can blame you for that.
Thank you, Jack, and thank you, Stan, for. I actually thank Stan Lee for that. I told him the story, and I said, "You got me laid like a monkey when I was, 18." And he's like, "I'm really glad I can be a part of that, Jim."
That sounded so much like him.
I've been around him so much. For the last, while he was alive, for the last 6 years, they had me host all his panels. So eventually, you pick all that crazy stuff up. But that's it. So I always had comics around, and when I went to high school, I went to the High School of Art and Design, so I learned illustration and learned how to do comics. And then when I graduated high school, I went to college. I went to New York Tech. I decided that there wasn't enough money in comics, so I got into advertising. And I got into advertising till I was around 29, and I got out when I was 30 and started comics again. And I went to work for a buddy of mine that I went to high school with, Mark Texera.
Yeah.
And we went to high school together, and he was drawing Punisher and Ghost Rider at the same time. And he asked me if I could help him with the book. So I helped him ink the books. And then eventually I started picking up works, and I've been working ever since. So wow. That's my short history.
So was that your first big job in comics, inking?
Yeah. I mean, I inked some comics when I was in high school. I just ghosted for other people. There was a couple I worked for Chick Stone. I worked for Dave Simons. I inked a lot of stuff that they did. But I got paid nothing. Like, we're talking $5 a page or $10 a page. It was terrible. And that's why I got out. But when I got back into Marvel, I started figuring out that, okay, here's how I can make money on this. I can, and because I learned that, because my training in advertising, I learned that you can't miss a deadline in advertising. So when I got into comics, they were like, oh, this guy's hitting every deadline. So I started getting a ton of work because I started actually getting the work in, as opposed to everybody I knew who wasn't. So
it's so funny because when we first started, I only really got into, really reading about like 70 years ago.
Okay.
And after I got married, and my wife was like, "What the heck? What's this all about?" But
right when the polish came off the knob. So
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was funny. I knew you from mostly your writing, and then all of a sudden I was reading this old Spider-Man comic, and on the back I think there was like a backstory. It said inked by Jimmy Palmiotti. I was like, inked by Jimmy Palmiotti? I was like, he was an inker? I was like, I didn't even know that at the time.
I actually inked. Is Amanda coming in? Although she's sliding back there. You sneaking in?
I'm taking my shoes off.
Oh, okay. Well, he's not taking your pants off. I was looking today, and some chart had that I inked 976 comics.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And I think it's actually more. I don't think they counted some of my own or some of the others. I think they were counting Marvel and DC.
Hello, Amanda.
But yeah, that's a lot of comics to ink. But I stopped. One day, DC sent me a book to ink, and they sent me a note inside, and they said, "Can you ink this book? And can you fix all the hands, and fix the feet, and fix some of the faces, and add some back?" And I put the book back in the FedEx box, and I sent it back to DC, and I was like, "Never ask me to ink again." That's like,
wow.
And I said, let me see if I can make a living writing. Let me see if I can just write.
And answers our next question.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, you're doing good. I guess we set it up well enough where you're just going into this.
Yeah, I mean, I've always, with Event Comics back in '95, Joe Quesada and I, '94, we put out Ash and Painkiller Jane. We writing our own comics. They're not the greatest reads when you read them, but there was an energy to them. We were so excited to make them. And, when I was doing Marvel Nights, I was, working with a lot of great writers like Garth and Paul Jenkins and Tom Sanowski and Chris Golden and all these guys. And I was like, I could do this. Like, I kept reading their scripts and going, I could do this, So it's basically how I did. Eventually, to get me to leave the room, you have to give me work. So I would sit in editors' rooms and say, come on, let me do that. I think like the first writing, I actually wrote a year's worth of Deadpool, which out of the gate did pretty well. I wrote the ones with Punisher, those 2 issues where Punisher's in it. Like I was the first person to put them together, and which makes sense because I wrote Deadpool, and then later on, years later, I did Harley, and it all made some kind of weird sense.
That was back after Joe Kelly's run, right?
Yeah, right after Joe's. Yeah. And Joe was amazing. So yeah. I love Joe's stuff.
So were there any other titles in Marvel that you wrote that people may not know about?
Yeah, I wrote with Justin Gray, we wrote Daughters of the Dragon, Heroes for Hire. I wrote some What Ifs. I wrote I'll look on my walls. I wrote a lot of Punisher books. I wrote some Punisher books. There's a bunch. I wrote for Marvel probably like 100, 150 books I written for them. Most of the work I was getting was from DC, and they were giving me, DC was. Marvel was great, but Marvel like I was like the odd guy. Like they would give me odd jobs to write. Wouldn't be like characters like X-Men or Thor or something like that. They would give me like Misty Knight and Colleen Wing, and I actually preferred those characters because they had low expectations. So when things have low expectations, you can actually go a little crazy with the books because nobody's expecting much. And
yeah, they don't let you do that much with Batman, right?
No, I mean I've written Batman, but I'm much more comfortable writing Jonah Hex. And when they gave me Jonah Hex, everyone's like, yeah, it's a Western, see what you can do, that kind of thing. Look, even Power Girl and Harley were like, okay, see what you can do with this. If there's something you can bring to it. So it's career's a crazy thing. I mean, it's a wild path. You sometimes you step in shit, and sometimes I don't know. It's all good.
Has it gone the way you expected it to at all?
No, nothing has. I had my expectations were, I hope I can make a living doing this, and I hope one day I can write this character and I can write that character. I used to have a list of characters I wanted to write. I actually wrote every one of them. Conan and Red Sonja on the list. I got to write Conan at Dark Horse. I got to write Red Sonja.
Wow.
I had Jonah Hex was my main one I wanted to do. Power Girl was a character I loved, and they let me do Power Girl. Harley was never on my list, but when Dan DiDio asked Amanda and I to do Harley, we said, well, we have a take on her we want to do, but we want to change everything, and they let us do it, and that's the Harley you see now. That's what came from there.
That's fantastic.
But I don't have that big list of characters. If they let me, I wrote some Batman stories, but I really would like to do. I would like to do a Batman series where it's only about Bruce Wayne. Because I think Batman, everybody's done everything, but Bruce is like interesting, like how he's got to maneuver these girls that he's hooking up with, and all this crazy stuff. I have much more to say about Bruce than I do about Batman. I think everybody said everything you can about Batman.
That's cool.
So much so that they actually change it all the time.
Yeah, right. That is a good idea because you don't get a book like that.
No, and giving it to me would be fun. I think, the black label is not black enough for me.
Yeah, well, they got scared a little.
It's sort of like a beige label.
Yeah, agreed, 100%.
Yeah, so, I mean, even with this series, we're doing Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey. I mean, Amanda and I are pushing the envelope as hard as we can, but we get pushbacks, Yeah. We do I do tend to do things that nobody else is doing. Language-wise, they let me do stuff, but then some things come back. And I'm like, why can't I say motorboat? And, you know what I mean?
It's so interesting.
Yeah, so it's like really weird, but I can say fuck till the cows come home, but I can't say motorboat. Not in the sentence that I created, Obviously, hey, we're going to go on a motorboat and go out onto the lake. Sure. But if Harley wants a motorboat Power Girl, it's like,
You guys do a great job with the cleverness of how you word everything and how you guys kind of set the stage on Harley. I remember reading early on, and I wasn't a big Harley fan until you guys started that. And I read it, I was like, this is just hilarious. I think it was just a fun book. And I think that's why everybody loved it so much, because it was just a lot of fun.
Well, it was a book that nobody was paying attention to.
Yeah.
I got to say, it was the least reviewed comic. Like, people just was like, oh, it's stupid, it's goofy, it's selling like crazy, but nobody was reviewing it. And I was laughing because I'm like going, there's stuff that we get away with that you can't get away with in other books.
Right. No way.
So nobody was paying attention. I mean, we actually had an issue where we catapulted shit and it hit the building.
I remember that.
I mean, she had a burned beaver with her all the time.
Ann and I wrote 1,001 beaver jokes, you know, and we're still writing them, by the way.
They come in handy.
But you know, I think because it had this humorous tone, it wasn't a threat.
Yeah.
Right. If you can get away with humor, you know, you can have your kids watch Animal House. You know, It has humor to it. Other than the scene with Belushi in the window with the girls, but you know, but there's this thing about humor that lets you get away with more stuff. Also, if it's not important, like it's funny because there was a couple of months where Harley was beating out the JLA and Batman in sales, right? And people were like, why is this book selling? And I said, come to the con and look at my line of people coming up. It's moms, it's daughters.
Yeah.
Like there were like people that weren't even buying comics were picking up Harley.
Yeah.
And I said, the book is succeeding because you guys are leaving us alone.
Yeah.
You know, letting us do our own thing.
And you're finally reaching a new audience too. I mean, that was the great thing about it.
Well, I mean, I think all comics should always be trying to grab the new audience. I always have a thing like the guys who read comics all the time, I have a shorthand too, right? We can get right into the story. But if you're picking up a book for the first time, you can't have the shorthand. So you have to have, no matter what issue, if it's Harley Quinn number 45, at one point in the beginning, I have to have somebody go, hey, Harley, and hey, Ivy, and hey, we have to hear the names being said. We have to have introduced, in a subtle way, we have to make sure everybody's on the same page so we can move the story again.
Yeah.
And a lot of people forget to do that. And that's why they get alienated with comics sometimes. Because they'll pick up like an X-Men issue and they're like, who's that? And who's that guy? And what's that guy? You know, so you have to do it in a subtle way. TV does it all the time. Like it's part of TV writing is it doesn't matter if it's Breaking Bad season 4, episode 3, eventually somebody calls their names. They call each other by their names. They show a long shot of where they are in Albuquerque. Like it's in every episode, you know, and comics, it's important to do that in comics too. So I'm always trying to make sure if somebody's picking it up for the first time, we kind of hook them in real quick, you know.
That's a very thoughtful idea.
It's actually a Stan Lee thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's very cool. So can you talk a little bit about your relationship with Joe Quesada and how that started?
Yeah, Joe and I met in San Diego in 1991. We were both like rookies going there, and I met him online to get a hamburger at some party or something. And we were talking, and he said he's a penciler, and I said, well, I'm making a lot of stuff, and I think he was looking to get cover work, and I got him some cover work at Marvel. And then he brought me up to Valiant, and we did Exo Zero together up there, that big shiny metallic comic.
Yeah.
And it sold like 2 million copies, right? And I was inking Solar at the time, and I was also inking Punisher. And we just became friends. We started hanging out. He was in Manhattan, I was in Brooklyn. And this was about the time when Image left. All the guys from Image left Marvel, remember? Mass Exodus, and they formed, Todd left Spider-Man, Jim left X-Men, and they formed Image. And Joe and I one day were like, we could do that, we think. And so we put our money together and we formed Event Comics and came out with Ash and Painkiller Jane. But we've been buddies ever since. I actually just did his Marvel live show a couple of days ago. You know?
Oh, yeah, I caught a little bit of that.
Yeah, and nice. It's like Joe and I, we took separate, after Marvel Nights, we took separate paths. You know, I wanted to write and create, and he wanted to run Marvel, which is, great. That's not my kind of job. I don't want responsibilities.
That's a big one.
That's fair.
Well, it is because you babysit like 300 people. That's a great Joe job, and he's amazing at it. But I wanted to do other stuff and just do my own career. And then we meet up and we talk and we catch up, and then we say, what we should do? We should do this and that. And, we're always doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just he's a friend. We became friends, and we worked together, and we drove each other crazy, and we had great times and a lot of traveling, and there's a lot of stories. One day there'll be a book.
We'll buy it.
I'll have to be dead. He'll have to be dead. People are gonna have to find the stories because neither of us will commit to them. So
how long were you guys comics together?
What's that?
How long were you guys running that publishing company for together?
Event, I think it was from 94 till around 2001, I think.
Cool.
And then I formed Paper Films after that. When we went our separate ways, I formed Paper Films, and he worked at Marvel. He was, the head guy at Marvel, editor-in-chief. I had two buddies that were editor-in-chief. Dan DiDio was editor-in-chief at DC, and Joe was editor-in-chief at Marvel. And they both said the same thing to me. You're going to have to work twice as hard because people are going to think we're taking care of our friend. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, come on, man. I've been working hard my whole life. What do you think?
Everybody knew you were friends with them.
Yeah. So, but that was true, right? They couldn't go out of their way to give me anything. They said, you're going to have to finagle, because if I give you anything, this guy's going to complain, and that, because you're a buddy, you take care of me. And I'm like, I kind of earned it already, dude. Why am I having to play by these rules?
I'm sure, just like everything else, the comic book industry is a very political industry as well, right?
Yeah, I haven't had that much, because I'm kind of friendly with everybody. So I don't spend a lot of times being negative, and I don't badmouth other people.
That's great.
I just feel life's too short, and if I disagree with you, that doesn't mean I don't get along with you. It's just that we have two different opinions. I'm perfectly fine. I'm perfectly fine having an epiphany once in a while. I'm like, oh my God, I never even thought of that. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
That's something that. At the same time, if my politics is different from you, it shouldn't get in the way of me having something in common with you. And usually the things in common with people are a lot stronger than the actual politics, I find.
Yeah, sure.
I think everybody's got a different perspective. Our president, everybody feels differently about him. I actually knew him. I actually met him. I went to his birthday party. I actually have history in New York with him. So my not loving him so much comes from a place of experience. But if you like him, that's great. That's your business, man. Hey, it's all good. It doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah.
It's all good. It's not going to change my comic, and it's not going to change us hanging out, having a beer, and having a sandwich. It's just going to taste the same going down. I just think politics are like a no-win situation with people.
Yeah.
Right.
No, you're right. I mean, I think you have probably a great approach to it. It's probably why you've been so successful.
Amanda made a good comment. She said to me, she goes, politics are like a team. People treat politics like a sports team. No matter how bad they're going, no matter how bad their season is, they're going to stick by the team.
Right.
That's a great analogy.
And I said, yeah, it's unfortunate because it's not based on facts, and but you're not going to convince somebody else that your team sucks.
Yeah.
Right. It's really hard to convince somebody that their team's not. And then if they really do suck and they have the epiphany that, oh shit, my team does suck, they're not going to admit it to you because they're already wearing the shirt and the jersey, and they're already have the baseball bat on the wall with the name on it, So what happens is, and it's also it's good business for politics to keep us divided, because they can get away with more things.
Yeah.
When we're united, we're horrible, man. We're horrible to deal with. Everybody's on the same page. Not good. It's not good for rich people. It's not good for politics. When we're all like, hey, we're all pissed off. We want to be treated better. Everyone agrees. That's the worst thing they want. So politicians and government likes to keep us divided because then they can manipulate easier. That's my take on it. That's why I don't get too upset about politics, because we're just victims of politics.
I was actually talking about comic book politics, but that's okay. We went down.
I know. Well, comic book politics are funny, right? Because, you have people hiring other people. I don't like that guy, or I don't like represent. So everything's political. I mean, where you go eat pizza is political, right? I got to go to this guy because whatever.
Yeah.
He makes better pizza. Really? Because I think this pizza is so much better. Oh, really? Well, fuck.
Yeah, they got to get the water from New York. That's the only way it's good.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try all pizza, but I don't have to love it. But I do love pizza, right?
Yes, I don't think anyone can disagree with that.
I love a hamburger, even if it's bad. It's better than not having a hamburger. So there you go.
Yeah. So I think we've mentioned it a few times. If there's anyone out there who doesn't know, you happen to be married to a fairly famous artist, an incredibly talented person named Amanda Connor.
Yes.
How did your paths first cross with Amanda?
She stalked me for a couple of, no, I'm kidding.
I wish that
a frying pan hit my head.
That would have been a great story if it was
or
true.
Cat. No, I actually met Amanda. I was we had an editor at Marvel named Hildy Mesnick, who actually used to be like Frank Miller's right-hand person, and for a while. And she asked me to come in to Marvel and ink some Gargoyles covers. Gargoyles was a Disney animated thing.
Yeah.
And Amanda, I inked the first issue, which was a Joe Mad cover I inked. And then Amanda took over the book, and she asked me if I wanted to meet, and I came in and I met Amanda. She was up at Marvel, and I'm like, oh, well, hello. But she was married at the time, so we became friends. We were friends for many years. And I inked her, and she was complaining. They said they keep putting me on cartoon books. They keep putting me on like Barbie, and I got her. I showed her work to the guys at Harris Comics, and I said, she would be a great Vampirella artist, and they hired her. So I worked with Amanda. I was inking Amanda on years for Vampirella. She was doing just beautiful work. I think Nick Barucci, I think Dynamite reprinted a bunch of it in a trade recently. And we became friends ever since. And then, of course, like, her marriage went south, my relationship went south, and one day we looked at each other and said, hey. and then we've been together ever since. And she's become not only quite the artist, which I always knew she was great, but also quite the writer. And she's also I think she's one of the best storytellers in comics, meaning you can take all the dialogue out of her book and still be able to follow exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
And she trained under Joe Kubert, right? So Joe trained her, and Joe, that was one of the things Joe said. He says, you should be able to read a comic without the words. And Amanda's books are very much, you can just throw all the words out and you can know exactly what's going on. And it's really funny because you think everybody in comics does that, but you learn that nope. No. There's a lot of people like to just draw people doing this, doing that.
I've never thought about that until you just said it, but you're 100% right. I was like, every time you read that stuff, like, I think, did you guys ever do a silent issue on Harley?
We do like silent parts, like we'll take like 3 or 4 pages and do, and it's all in the acting and the faces. I mean, think about, I'm going to ask you 3 a question. Who is your favorite comic book artist? Like, first thing that comes to your mind. First one.
Jim Lee.
Jim Lee? Who else?
You say that? Ditko.
Yeah, Jim Lee.
Jim Lee, same thing? And what about?
Probably Ditko. Yeah, Ditko.
Oh, Steve Ditko. Okay. All right. And that's interesting. I mean, so you'll buy anything Jim does?
No. I like his art. Yeah.
What do you like of his?
In the Superman and the poses. I like the poses. Yep. Like, he does like very statuesque looking stuff. Not necessarily as great a storyteller with his art, but you
like how it looks.
It's good as like a poster.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Right. Okay. I mean, and Ditko is a storyteller. You know that.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, Steve's stuff is like, you panel to panel, you can follow the sequential.
Yeah, like you said, a lot of those pages you could read without, the word balloons. And
absolutely. And Steve's famous that scene where Spider-Man's lifting that, he's under the water and he's lifted.
Exactly.
Not a lot of dialogue there,
Yeah.
Not needed.
But we're in a storytelling medium, so it's a very important thing. And the best people are the ones that are storytellers. So, but that's how I met Amanda, and we fell in love, and it's still going. So still going strong. Yeah.
So I think between all of us, we have like, and it's funny, I think we all have different favorite stories that you've written. I mean, for me, I love The Big Con Job. Like, I know it's one of your smaller books, but that was just an awesome idea. I felt like the whole time that was about William Shatner. I don't know why.
You know what? You're not far off. The idea came when I was thinking about I was thinking about Robin San Diego Comic Con. that was my basic idea. But I was watching at the cons how the cons were like kissing the ass of whoever's new, right?
Yeah.
You had these steady B actors that were always at the shows, working hard for everybody, and it was slowly getting pushed back.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, we have it in comics too, but they really have it in the acting thing. There's a real B level and an A level. And I thought, well, what if these guys were just had enough of the cons and just wanted to rip it off?
Yeah.
And what would that story play out like? And of course, there's no way I was not going to give this story a sort of happy ending. You know?
Yeah, no,
like when I wrote it, they were the guys at Boom like, well, is it going to be like really sad? And I said, no. I said, it starts out sad, and then it goes to happy land. And I said, because I want to put down the story afterwards and go, yes, you know, that's what you know, it's too easy to go dark. I think when you go dark in comics, it's way too easy. But to make somebody laugh and be happy about it, and you know, so it was one of those books I knew it was going to be a hard sell, and it wasn't going to sell that much, but it was a story I wanted to tell. So it was great that Boom let us do that, you know?
I mean, I liked it. I mean, I was a huge fan of Starfire and even the Jetsons. The Jetsons was like a surprise, awesome story.
The Jetsons was heavy.
It was.
Somebody told me this is really heavy. Well, because I the whole thing, when Dan offered me Jetsons, I was like, okay. And I said, you know, what do you want it to be about? And he goes, look, it's a family cartoon. Make it about the family. He says, don't give me all this crazy politics. Don't give me all this crazy. He said, make it about the mom, the dad, and the family. I'm like, okay. And then I said, I was thinking about Rosie, and I said, well, you know, in my world, like Rosie has to have a better connection. She can't just be a robot, you know?
Yeah.
So in the story, to ruin it for the other guys, Rosie is actually the grandmother chooses to end her life and be put into a robot brain. So Rosie is actually George's mother.
Yeah.
Wow.
Who never died. So mom is always there, which makes sense for the cartoon because Rosie's always fussing over George in the cartoon. Yeah. But I thought if the mother chooses to end her life and she grabs the daughter, she grabs Judy, and they both go to this place. And it's kind of inspired by Soylent Green. If you've never seen the movie, well, there's a scene with Edward G. Robinson chooses to end his life, and I just thought, well, let's take it further. We'll be able to download our brains into something to live forever. But the basic premise of the Jetsons was the world is doomed. Everything's doomed. Everything's a meteor is heading towards it. The water below it is polluted and it's a mess. Cities are underwater. Everything's going wrong. And then this family's going to come and save everything.
It was a lot of fun.
What the story was about.
I'm gonna have to check this out.
It's fun, and Pierre Brito drew it. He did a beautiful job. Elroy is a couple of years older because I have Elroy with a girlfriend.
Yeah.
You know, and Judy's like a film student.
Yeah.
Which it just plays into, like I said, I watch those cartoons and there really is no story in them.
No.
You know, it's these Sprockets, new Sprocket, you know, it's ridiculous. So when DC gave it to me, I said, okay, I'm going to make it. And it's funny because they were making a Jetsons animated movie at the same time I was writing the book.
Yeah.
And I just told DC, if they take any of my ideas, I want to be paid for them.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I don't know if that ever happened, though. One day.
Yeah.
But thank you for that.
Yeah. No, it was great. Both of those were great. I mean, even I think some of the smaller stuff, I mean, just because your name's attached to it, you know, made me interested in checking it out because I know your style and like those are really cool.
Well, thanks. I mean, like I said, I get offered all the weird books because even my successful books are weird books. Like they're not the top three. They're not the top four. They're definitely not the books that make royalties. And except for Harley. Harley was an accident, you know, as they say, accident. But I just like the idea of reading something that it's not normal. I read a ton of comics, guys. So, you know, I have to challenge myself when I do something.
Yeah, I'm a big.
Do you find you have the?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You first. Go ahead.
I was going to say I'm a big fan of your Jonah Hex. I love your Jonah Hex and your all-star westerns. I grew up, you know, in a time where you had John Wayne and you had your Clint Eastwood, you know, in those western movies, and I've always been drawn to those type of comic books. So I love all those westerns that you've been doing.
Hey.
And then also the Star Spangled War stories, because I grew up in a military family. I spent time in the military, spent time during the first Gulf War, and I love reading stories about that type of stuff.
Well, the genre books have a certain appeal to certain kind of people.
Mm-hmm.
Like a Western, you love the war stuff in the West, and it's genre stuff. You're reading about a time that's different than our time, a place that's different than our world, what we're going through. And at some point, even a Western could be as out there as a sci-fi in a way.
Yeah.
Because these are not a world we live in anymore. The world's changed. Jonah Hex was interesting because I grew up reading Jonah Hex, and I love Jonah Hex. Again, a kid from Brooklyn, a Western is the furthest thing in the world, like cowboys. But it's fascinating, right? I love the idea that the world was cut down to, I'm a good person, you're a bad person, you're breaking the law. It's a very simple time, but the more you got into Westerns, the more you realize it's so multi-layered.
Mm-hmm.
The characters are so, and with Jonah, what a pleasure to write that character because he's a miserable bastard. And I had a rule with Jonah. He doesn't hurt animals and he doesn't hurt kids, right? And then we handed in the first script. Justin Gray and I did the book, and we handed in the first script. And in that book, a kid gets rabies, and Jonah smothers him to put him out of his misery. And they got that script, and they're like, "What the hell is this?" And I said, I'm going to be writing a little bit of a different Western. And I said, it's a mercy kill. And they go, you're killing a child. You have him killing a child in the first issue. I said, I'm doing that because I don't want anybody to think they know where this book is going to go.
That's cool.
At any time. And I'm going to be pushing every issue for, and we introduced Tallulah Black and the way we pitched it to Dan is I want a different artist for every issue, and I want every story to end in one issue, and nice. They honestly didn't think the book would be around that long. They thought maybe a year. And then all of a sudden the book got attention because people loved the way it was written, right? So it was like, he's like, well, and DC, and thank God to Dan DiDio, he was like, you know what? It doesn't sell that much, but we're so happy with it. Like every issue, and by the way, 72 issues, I had 74, I think the first series was. Mm-hmm. We never had a late book. It always came out the first week of every month. Awesome. Right? So, because I didn't want Dan to cancel it by saying, hey, it's late, right? So that was part of getting different artists to work on the book. That's why we had a different artist in every issue. And I had some favorites I liked. Like Jordi Bernet was definitely one of them I loved because he was a European artist. He was like the Joe Kubert of Europe, and I got him on the book. But it was an interesting book to write, and so was All Star Western. We just took the genre and went nuts with it.
Yeah.
But these books never sold. Well, they never sold. And then they made that shitty movie. And they said, and they said, well, it's because of your book we're making this movie. And I said, so then why didn't you show some respect for the book and not film this thing? And I felt bad because we were invited on a set, not by DC. We were invited on a set by the producer, one of the producers. The DC did not invite us. They didn't want us involved in any way.
That's funny.
And that's why the movie suffered, because they didn't have Justin and I. Honestly, if they had Justin and I there and going over the script, because I read the script and I told them, you got major issues here. And they just chose to ignore it. And I'm like, when I saw that movie, they asked me, would you like to go to the premiere? And I was like, nope. I said, I have nothing to do with this movie.
Yeah.
So I don't want my picture taken with this crew. I had nothing to do with it. That said, Josh Brolin was fantastic pick. Josh did nothing. Josh was great. Yeah. The movie they put him in was bizarre. It was a bizarre movie.
I've still never even seen it because I heard so many bad things about it.
No, you should see it because it's not boring.
Okay. All right.
It's one of those.
We should add that to our list of movies that we need to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those movies you can watch the three of you live and talk through it. Talk through it, and people will watch that forever because there's like little glimpses of things in the movie that you're like, oh, if they only did this more, and if they only did that more, That said, people come up to me and say they love that movie all the time, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to take that away from you. Love it.
Yeah.
Go ahead and love it, man. That's
we're gonna tell more people to tell you that.
I don't care. It's all good.
Toy Story, you had a question?
Yeah. So do you find overall that you enjoy writing the stuff where you're allowed to push the boundaries a little more than maybe where you'd be given a little more less leeway, so to speak?
Yeah. So if they gave me Batman to do tomorrow, and they said you're going to write new Batman writing, they watch everything you do, right? But they give you Harley Quinn, nobody cares. But when they gave Amanda and I Harley Quinn, they're like, do whatever you want. They didn't even notice we were changing the costume every issue.
You embrace that freedom.
We just did whatever we wanted. Jonah Hex too, nobody cared.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Dan DiDio was the guy that made sure that happened. Dan is actually the guy that put us on Harley as well. I think, getting rid of him was like the biggest mistake because people gonna wish him back soon. But anyway, that's my opinion on Dan. Dan's the guy who tries to experiment and tries to push the envelope and tries to take a risk all the time. He's also the only guy that when things go wrong, gets out there and goes, yep, oh, well, we screwed up. And he takes the blame for it too. It's like a different kind of tough guy. He is. And he'll do well wherever he goes from here. But, and look, I love Jim Lee. So Jim's a new guy in charge. Let's see what he's got to do. I mean, he didn't get a chance to flex his muscles yet because of this virus.
Yeah.
But Jim's a great guy. Amanda and I love Jim. Like Jim is a freelancer's friend. We love that bastard.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite title that you've worked on? Do you have a favorite one or favorites?
Painkiller Jane, because I co-created Painkiller Jane. That's my easiest one to write. Like when I write it, I feel like I'm hanging out with her, and I don't know. Harley is really easy. I love writing Power Girl because Power Girl is like the straight man in a comedy. Like Power Girl, no matter what's going on, she's the one that rolls her eyes and goes, "Oh God, no," And we always have the characters looking at her like the body, right? And it's Power Girl. And she completely counters that. Whatever they think of her, she kind of throws it in their face. So she's a lot of fun to write. I also like the Punisher. I can relate to a guy who gets pissed off and wants to shoot stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it in real life.
I don't understand where he's coming from.
I know where he's coming from.
Yeah.
It's fun to write about him, tossing a grenade under somebody's car. I don't want to do it. I actually want to do it, but not hurt anybody. But he's like a wish fulfillment character. You can write a story that's just horrible, and then at the end, just do 2 pages of Punisher loading guns. Yeah. And then him going out, and then it was when I was working on a Punisher with Garth and Steve Dillon. We were laughing out loud at that Punisher series. Welcome Back, Frank. We were like in heaven doing that. But we're laughing like the bear just rips a guy's head off. He just the guy's head. Like we're laughing out loud, and it's to somebody else, it's the most horrific stuff in the world. And I'm like, okay, that's our weird sense of humor. And I don't know if it's a New York thing or not. It might be a New York thing. It might be eventually.
It might be.
It might be figured out that it's maybe a New York thing. But I also think the Punisher appeals to everyone on some level because everyone's been frustrated and feel like they've been unjustly done on some part of their life and would love the idea of just going back and getting revenge. But the reality of that is not, is completely different. So he's as much as a fantasy character than any of them.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, but he always gets away, and he heals pretty quick.
Yeah. He's always near death and then he's fine the next day.
Yeah. It's funny because with Painkiller Jane, when I was doing Painkiller Jane, I said, when she gets shot, it's going to take her like 30 pages to get better. That was my rule. Like she doesn't heal that quick. It's not Wolverine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's no threat. There's no threat to Wolverine if he heals all the time.
That's true. Well, that's why they always take it away from him.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's talk about your newest project, Pop Kill.
Yes.
So you've officially reached your Kickstarter funding goal of $30,000, and it's still climbing.
It's still climbing. Look, we got 22 days. I'd like it to hit 12 million if possible.
Why not?
But I'm happy it hit 30,000.
Well, we were all lucky enough to get the mystery boxes right away. So.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those. Let me tell you something. It's like Patrick and I pack those up, and Patrick, every time I offer like 5 more, he goes, "Please don't," because it takes us all week to fill them. Because I don't know if anybody ever had a mystery box before.
No, not this one.
JJ
I've
has?
had mystery boxes
No?
before.
Okay.
Mystery
you
boxes
did?
in general, right?
In general,
Like
yes.
in general?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
No. Have you ever?
Our mystery boxes are. You get your books. You get what we consider the amount of signed books and special books. We throw those in there because we want to make sure you get the money. You feel like I got what I wanted, right? You got enough. You made money on it. You're not losing money on it. And then we throw in weird things. And some of them are signed badges. Some are sketches and drawings. Some are rock and roll T-shirts I had from the 80s.
Nice.
Some are CDs and DVDs, and we just stuff one of those mailboxes with as much as we can and tape it up. And it takes us a lot of time to do the mystery boxes because we look at it and go, "Is that enough?" We always do that. Is it worth double what they paid? And like, maybe we should. I'm like, Amanda, can you sign this book? However long, so they take us time. But like this, we offered 15, I think, on this one, right? 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as long as President Trump doesn't raise the mail prices 4 times, we should be okay because he keeps threatening that he's going to have the post office raise their rates 4 times. So our mystery box is $15 to ship. That means it'll be $60 to ship. I'm hoping they don't do that.
I hope so. I hope not either. I've got a lot of comic books coming from California.
Yeah.
Please, Mr. President, don't focus your attention on something else. Not the mail, not the U.S. post office. Okay. We like them the way they are. So we pack each one of those up with a bunch of weird stuff, and a lot of times it's stuff that is given to me. It's one of a kind stuff. Sometimes it's old hats. Dude, I put things in them. I had one. I honestly, I found this thing in a store. Remember E.T. had the finger and you put the plastic finger on with the light?
Yeah.
I found a dozen of those. And I threw them in everybody's box. And one guy was writing me, he goes, "Where did you find this E.T. finger?" And I'm like, man, I said, "It's a mystery box. You're not supposed to know what's in there when you get it." So you guys can unbox it on your show.
We will.
We're definitely going to do that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, very
So can you
exciting.
tell people more about the project? We've read the synopsis and it sounds hilarious.
So basically, it's about Popkill is about 2 competing soda companies, and they're owned by conjoined twins who were separated and now hate each other. So each company is owned by each twin brother, and one of the companies has a scientist, Dina Deluxe, who she created she's working on this thing to keep the carbonation in soda like 10 times longer. And if you think about that for a soda company, that's like $1 billion concept that my soda will never go flat, right? So the other brother is like, "I can't have this." So he hires this like really egotistical James Bond oversexed guy to kill or at least seduce the idea out of Dina Deluxe. And it just gets weird from there. It's actually 4 issues. This is the first issue. It is the most bizarre. It's an adult book, so there's nudity, there's violence, and there's bad language.
That's great.
Dave Johnson hit me with the idea, and I was laughing. And I said, okay. I said, let's take it a little further. How weird can we get? And we just had a lot of fun with it. I got Juan Santa Cruz to draw it, and Juan is a guy I worked with on last Painkiller Jane book. He's done Twilight Experiment with me, The Resistance for Wildstorm. He's done a lot of books, and Brian Reber coloring it, and Sean Donat lettering it with John J. Hill lettering it. So I got this team together, and actually Juan is working his way to the 3rd issue. So we're going to actually have there you go. Yeah, he drew the middle story in there with Monolith. That was
okay.
Nice.
Okay. And it's a crazy thing, and we figured out we're going to do the first issue. It's 32 pages of story, but by the time we're done, the book's going to be 40 something pages because we're going to add some extra stuff in. And yeah, we just launched it on Kickstarter. The thing we did, it's funny because somebody, I won't even mention any names, right? Somebody was pointing out to me how other people's Kickstarters were doing better than mine. And I keep reminding people it's not a competition. As long as I hit my goal, I don't care what the hell happens. But we do offer digital levels for $5. You know, you can get the book for digitally $5. And I notice a lot of Kickstarters don't do that. You have to buy more expensive levels. Yeah. And I guess that's why I like to think that somebody in New Zealand can just spend $5 and get the book delivered in their email. Yeah. I have a different way of looking at Kickstarter. It's not a competition for me. I only compete with the fact that I want to hit my goal and keep doing it. So we're really happy right now, and I have a lot of stretch goals. I think we hit one stretch goal where you get let me get the list in front of me. Where'd it go? Oh, here we go. Yeah, we hit one stretch goal where we actually add another digital book. And then if we hit 45K, you get a Dave Johnson sketchbook in the book. So we add extra. That's why I said we might be adding extra pages. I keep updating my printer. I'm like, look, it's going to be a little bigger. And then if we hit some other goals, it's actually going to keep adding pages. Because why not? Why not add like 6 more pages or 8 more? Actually, it's 8 at a time, right? So, why not add pages? I don't mind the book getting thicker and fatter. I already bought all my shipping boxes for it and everything. So we're good. But I'm hoping in the next 22 days we can get it up going, like doing a show like yours. Even if I get 2 or 3 new customers, boom, great. Success. Fantastic. If I don't get any customers tonight from it, I know it's your show. No, I'm kidding. Nice. I'm messing with you guys. No, but it's the Kickstarters are fun. It's perfect. I've been doing, this is my 13th one I've done.
13?
So I've done 12. Yeah, this is the 13th Kickstarter.
Wow.
I've done 12. I've never not got my product to people. Everybody's get their package. If they have a problem, they write me. I take care of it. I do not have, if I hit a delay, like with Painkiller Jane, we hit a delay with the printer because we went to hardcover and I got really picky about the paper stock and that delayed it a little bit. But the book's beautiful when you get it, so I make sure the communication, I tell you guys, hey, look, it's going to be a week or 2 late. Here's what's happening. Here's where it's at the printer. It's on its way. You're getting it. I treat it like the most important thing in the world. And the people I know, they're investing their money into it. So I treat them like customers, like customer service, not in New York, but more like customer service in Florida. And I don't know if you noticed, in New York, you return something in the supermarket and they go, what's wrong with it?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you go, well, it doesn't, it's bad. It went bad. Well, is it your fault? How long have you had it? Here in Florida, I go, hi, I'm returning this. And they go, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
But New Yorkers, we're ready to tell you what's wrong with it.
Right. It's your fault. But anyway, so you're only good as your reputation. And my Kickstarter reputation is, I always wish that Kickstarter would do a ratings so I can have a nice 4-star rating. And they can.
That's a good idea.
Because there's a lot of Kickstarters. I don't know if you guys ever backed one where you haven't gotten your stuff.
I have.
Has anybody?
Yep.
It's taken a while sometimes. Yeah.
One of mine. One of mine took 6 years.
I'll do you better. One of mine is like around 6 years old, and I still haven't gotten it yet. So
yeah,
I don't like that.
Yeah, neither do I.
I don't put up with that. I will send them people back if the money back to people if I can't deliver it. I will not take anyone's money. That's no good.
Business.
Yeah. Well, I don't sleep at night. I'd rather make sure everybody's taken care of.
There you go. That's great.
That might be a New York thing too, right? We want to make sure our customers are happy.
We try to make it right.
You got it.
So
I'm sure there's a guy in California who go, hey, that's true. What are you talking about?
So are there any other projects that you wanted to share today, or is Pop Kill your current focus?
I have we don't have it distributed yet, but I did a book called Random Acts of Violence years ago for Image. And Jay Baruchel shot the movie, and we're looking for a distributor. So hopefully that winds up on the radar one day. It's a horror movie. It's a hard R. It's yeah, it's a hard R. But it's a lot of fun, and Jay's a great director. Jay's in it, and Anthony Williams, and the girl from Furious, Fast and Furious, the one that plays the sister to.
I was just looking at this.
Jordana Brewster.
Yep.
Yeah, Jordana Brewster's in it.
We were just talking about her the other night.
She's good in it. And other than that, I just, right now I finished my Marvel and DC work, so I'm doing the Kickstarter and doing my own books until stuff, kicks back up again. I'm not worried. Like I said, this is all going to take. We're going to be doing this until somebody finds some kind of, I said Twitter today. I said I every day I wake up to watch the news in the morning. I'm hoping somebody goes, "That's it, we found it."
Yeah, we found it.
Science will do that eventually. Science will do that. So I have faith in that. Until then, we are all learning to like what we really need in our house and what we don't need, and how important entertainment and art is to all of us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
This is a lesson for the world, because they have to slow down and realize that art, your music, your TV, your comics, your puzzles, your drawing, your all this stuff, we lost it for a while.
Yeah.
A lot of people lost it for a while, and now they're realizing, oh, wait a minute, art, I do need art more than I do need algebra, in a way. Or, I always say we arts always get lost, right? The first thing they get cut in schools is art. And that's not good, because art fuels all the crazy ideas, Artists envision, the scientists are artists. They see things that we can't see, and they imagine something, and that's how they find cures. Right? They imagine how would we get this pointy thing to be round so this virus doesn't connect onto our thing. Like, it's just a visualization is art. The way, futurists, right? How important are futurists? Futurists, what happens is futurists see an idea or imagine something, and then a scientist delivers it.
Sure.
Makes it happen. That's why they have a great combination with each other.
Like a writer and an artist.
Yeah. Well, look, we're the only entertainment made, other than the novels, where you can read a story at your own pace. Because when we watch TV and a movie, it's a difference.
Yes.
Right? They're delivering it. But a comic, I could sit there and look at a page for an hour if I want.
Yeah.
And then I can flip, and then I can turn back if I want to. Oh, that's what that guy was. Oh. Comics have this other kind of thing that's hard, and it's visceral, right? It's visceral, and I love movies and I love film, but I do love my downtime with my comics, and it's hard to explain that to people who don't read comics.
Yeah,
it is. You're right.
And that's why I think comic people are the most well-rounded people out there, because they look at things differently. And I think when people don't, I think that's when they make quick decisions. Like, we really look at things.
Yeah.
Comic people don't read a comic, they think about it. They read it and then they think about it.
Yeah.
And they think, so there's a lot taught to us about who we are and how we are in the world from comics. We grew up with a lot of these lessons. It's great if you have religion and you were Catholic or you're Jewish, but comic books actually taught us a lot of what religion has. It taught us how to be good, how to be bad, what is bad.
Yeah.
What is regret? How many comics have all the Shakespearean stuff, regret, and all this kind of, romance, all that kind of stuff. So I love comics. But I think this time is teaching people even more. They love their comics even more. We're missing them.
Yeah.
So you guys heard it here first. Jimmy Palmiotti says all us comic readers are the most well-rounded people in the world.
They are. Look, people take us. They look at, like, look behind you with the statues. They look at the surface stuff, right?
Yeah.
And they make a judgment on that,
yep.
right?
You're right.
And So you have Game of Thrones behind you. You got superheroes. You have Star Wars background. What do I have? I have a Mobius book and Amanda's, some of Amanda's original art.
Oh my gosh. That's been sitting on the table the whole time. There's a beautiful Harley cover for anyone listening.
And they look at the surface.
It's on the floor.
Okay. But they look at the surface stuff for our genre, what we do, and they go, "Oh, you guys read comics?" Okay, but no, actually, comic people are the most well-read people, and entertainment-wise, and they're well-traveled because we're interested in other places.
Yeah.
And we're curious. We're curious as hell.
Yeah.
So I it's funny because I'll go back to Marvel Knights when they offered us. Marvel offered us to take on some books. Joe and I sat there and said, okay, so you're going to let us do 4 books. We picked the characters we wanted, Daredevil and Humans, Black Panther, and Punisher. And because we picked them because they were grounded and we both wanted an ethnic character with Black Panther, and we both wanted a team that was a mixed race, which was Inhumans, right? And plus it's Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, great character.
Absolutely.
And when we were doing it, because we did a couple of favors for Kevin Smith on his films, we asked Kevin to do Daredevil, right? To please write Daredevil with us. And we said, if we're going to do this, I said, we really want to get across to people how cool comics are. So how can we do this? So Kevin booked a bunch of nights on Letterman and Leno, and he talked about Daredevil. Joe and I did some morning TV shows. We went on some CBS This Morning. We talked about the comic line. We went out and did some shows. We did a film festival thing. And we went out and we sold comics as, if you're going to buy Marvel Knights and you're going to buy our books, it's because you want to buy all 4 of these because they're cool. Yeah. And we're cool. And we did stuff with Wizard. Joe and I were in Wizard every month doing all this stuff. Because we said, we need to sell this as something that's cool. Like comics aren't just goofy and for kids. Comics are freaking cool, man. Like, how do we get this across? And again, this is early, and this is before computers were just starting. So we had to do all our push. Like, we had to go to TV stations. We were on MTV talking about comics, like how cool comics, how great comics are. That's awesome. And Kevin Smith is out there selling them, saying, dude, Spider-Man, oh man, and then, how Kevin sells everything.
That's great.
And that changed the world a little bit because all of a sudden superhero movies came out and then Spider-Man came out after. And, and it changed our genre, I think for the better.
Yeah.
Got more people reading them, but people forget they still have to keep doing that. We still have to go out there. And the movies sell us, but I resent a little bit that the movie stars don't push the comics more.
Right.
I really want them to do that. Some of them do. James Gunn, God bless him. Margot takes a picture with a Harley comic in it. I love her. Yeah. She could not be any nicer, especially to Amanda and I. She's just so cool. And but I think it's a constant thing we have to do. And remember, it's like with jazz. It's another original art form, American art form. Comics and jazz are both created here. And very important that we remember that and wave the flag for it all the time.
There you go.
And that's what you guys do in the show. You talk about it.
We love it. Yeah.
So I know I'm running for office somewhere. I don't know.
We can vote for you.
No, just, like I said, I think a lot of people forget how great this medium is, and they tend to dismiss us. Yeah. They love the movies, but they don't want to touch the comic, right?
I think it's changing, though. I think there's a lot of good people out there. I mean, one of the things we've said so many times, I know we can't go to them right now, but when you go to a convention and you just look around, I tell all my friends, like, just look around. Like, especially, in the big cities like New York and stuff like that, you can find any type of person, race, religion, gender here. It's amazing the touch it has, the comic books have.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we learned that with Harley. We would go. I mean, it was the #1 costume in America while we were doing the book.
Yeah,
for Halloween.
My daughter's first Halloween, Harley Quinn.
Yeah, there you go. It is. But, you know, again, we always want people to come back to the books.
Yeah.
You know, it's great to love the movie, but unless the company is making sure those books are in theaters, I don't know the impact. You know, I really,
sure.
You know, it's funny, and also, Amanda and I don't do conventions that do not treat the comic guests the same as the movie guests.
Mm-hmm.
And if people ask me all the time, why aren't you going to this show or that show? I don't want to call out the show. I'm just going to tell you to figure out why I'm not showing up there. Is because for some reason they're putting the comic guests in a room with nothing to eat or a box of the old sweaty sandwich, and right in the next room to us, B actors, cosplayers, actors, whatever it may be, they're getting fresh food and, you know, all this kind of stuff, and they're treating us like crap. And I'm like, I don't do those shows.
Yeah.
I just don't.
I don't blame you.
You got to treat us. If I don't demand respect, we're not going to get it, right?
Sure.
And that's how it is. You know, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. It's an old one, but it's a goodie. Yeah. So if anybody keeps going, why don't you go? We never see you at this con. I'm always like, figure it out. Until they change their policy, we're not going. You know.
That's true.
Did I answer every question?
Yep, we have one more for you.
I think so.
Okay, go for it.
So especially now, since we're all quarantined for the foreseeable future, what are the best ways your fans can find you and interact with you online?
I'm really easy on Twitter. It's just put my name in, J Palmiotti, if you want. On there, and I'm on Instagram. My name again. Mm-hmm. I don't do Facebook, so I don't have that. But the best way if you want to message me, you can back my Kickstarter and send me a message.
Great idea.
That's one great way. But on Twitter too, I'm my presence there is I will answer you if you have questions on Twitter. I'm pretty good with getting back to people. Just have to give me a day or two. I do get a lot of messages every day. Yeah. There's a lot of people who need charity stuff done, and I get it. But unless I have an office of like 10 people helping me, man, the demand is crazy lately.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You know, I raise some money for shows, and I do something. And we have our charities we do and everything. But oh my God, it's like everybody. And it sucks, right? It sucks that even has to exist. Yeah. No, Twitter and Instagram. Instagram I love because it's visual.
Yeah.
You know, you guys are on everything, right? Every platform.
Yeah, we're on everything. We do we're very light on Twitter, but we're very heavy on Instagram and Facebook.
Again, the visual stuff is.
Yeah.
Right. There you go.
And you also have paper films too, right?
Yeah. So if you go to paperfilms.com, we sell our books. We sell digital books. We sell actual copies. We have original art. Amanda's original art is on there. And it's basically a little wrap up of everything I've ever worked on or created, Amanda and I have done. So if you go to the website, kind of fun just to bounce around a little bit. You don't have to buy anything, just kind of check it out. And we do a mailer. If you go on and sign the mail, we send it out once a month. And it tells you what shows we're going to be at, what books we're working on, show some exclusive art. And we also give like coupons if you want to save 20 or 30% on the art. You can, save some money.
And you get heads up on Amanda's new art. So
yeah, not the stuff I damaged. You can see it better like this.
I'll pay half price.
Sometimes she draws pretty big. This is like an actual large. It's a little larger than a regular comic.
It's beautiful. I have one thing that I got when you guys went to that Cradle of Aviation years ago, right when you guys started on Harley. And I was like, can I get art from you? And I'd never gotten art before. The first time I ever went up to anybody, it was Amanda. And she's like, yeah, sure. And then I remember after that, you guys went to San Diego where somebody was selling like a head sketch for like $500. But I was like, I'm never getting rid of mine.
The thing was, it wasn't that. It was that in San Diego, there's like two guys and they were telling us, oh, it's, for my kid. And this other guy was like, I'm getting this. And then it wound up on eBay that night.
That's the worst.
And Amanda's like, I did them for next to nothing. What she did is she did a bunch of drawings for people, and we told them to go take the money to Comic Legal Defense Fund and bring it over there and pay them. Like she did a sketch for you and said it was $100. You were supposed to go, person goes over and gives it. a lot of people weren't doing it.
Yeah,
So
That's a shame.
yeah, I mean, but you know, for the most part, 99.9% of the people are straight shooters.
Yeah.
Once in a while, you just get some asshole, and you know, it's usually the same four guys. You know, it's usually.
Yeah, I know which guys you're talking about.
It's not us.
Hey, look, they gotta eat too, I guess.
Yeah.
But, you know, Amanda's the thing with Amanda in drawing at cons is she hyper focuses. So if she draws, she can't
sign, right?
She can't sign, and she can't listen to people because it's
such a tough environment for that.
Yeah, so she's not that person. Like Jim Lee can knock it out, and you know, some of the guys can. Well, actually, I can sketch pretty quick at a con, but she's definitely a precision person. So
we've never thought to ask him for art. Next time.
If you bring me a hardcover Jonah Hex, or a hardcover Daredevil, or a hardcover any hardcover Painkiller Jane, anything, if you bring it to me, I will always do a drawing in it for you.
Awesome.
Good to know.
It's open. This is open to anybody.
That's
at a con. If you bring me one of the hardcovers, I will do a quick sketch for you.
Absolutely.
Daredevil head, a Jonah Hex head, whatever you need. I always do it.
So we're gonna do a goodbye for the show, but if you could just hold on 5 minutes afterwards, we're gonna thank you so much for joining us today. We know your schedule must be pretty hectic. You know, we appreciate you
go from here to the living room.
Well, we appreciate you looking out for your fellow New Yorkers.
Thank you.
And giving us the opportunity to speak with you. We can't wait to see what happens with Pop Kill, and we look forward to all your future projects. So
thank you
again,
Jimmy. Appreciate it, man.
All right, that was our interview with Jimmy Palmiotti. Really awesome interview. He had a lot of great insights, a lot of great stories, and we're really excited to see his Kickstarter, Pop Kill, come out real soon.
Yeah, really excited for that.
Awesome. All right, so now we're going to cut over into our talk with Ali at Elite Comics 11. We're going to talk about his upcoming AtCon 2, his virtual Instagram convention. It's going to be really cool, and we're also going to talk about the next couple of Remedy Tour stops we have coming up.
All right, so as promised, welcoming back today Ali of Elite Comics 11, here to tell us all about AtCon 2. Welcome back, Ali. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's good to be back.
Yeah, man, good to see you again.
You're like you're one of our recurring guests now.
There we go.
I'm proud to be. So yeah, AtCon 2, let's get right into it. I mean, AtCon 2, I'm sure people have started to see the announcements. I mean, we kind of opened with a bang. I mean, we have CGC, Diamond, and Wada Games as corporate sponsors.
That's great.
That's awesome.
The scope of this AtCon is going to be much broader than last time. It's much more ambitious. A lot of people have been following the Remedy tour we're doing with shops that can't open because of the COVID-19 restrictions. So you've seen the live sale format. That's going to be a big part of AtCon in conjunction with the traditional consignment posts that you see on Elite Comics 11. And I can't really make any huge reveals right now on the artists and celebrity front, but there's going to be a lot of them, and there's going to be a lot of live content. Basically, the theme of this AtCon is going to be live content, a lot of live content. So that's what we're focusing on. That's what's going to make it so much better than the last one.
So in terms of like, for people who have never been on one of these, Remedy tours or have seen any of this, so what's different about this than, just kind of someone going on and having a live sale of comic books?
For Remedy tour, or what we're going to do?
Oh, no, for AtCon. Like, so what's going to be different about AtCon and just a regular stream?
So AtCon, as you can imagine, space is somewhat limited. So the vendors that we're going to be featuring, we're going to call them featured vendors. They're going to have live sessions during AtCon. They're going to be the cream of the crop. They're going to come with their A face and their A game, and they're really going to be masters of the craft, and things are going to be really organized and streamlined. And it's going to be the A game. And so we're taking techniques that we're developing and using during Remedy Tour with, it's a mix of all kinds of stores. Some people are really struggling with some of the technology, and we help them through it. Some aren't. It's like a mixture. But for AtCon 2, we're going to have everything down. It's going to be we're going to have time to practice. We're going to have time for consistencies that we just don't have when we're just doing a different shop in a different location every week for these remedy tours, where the focus right now is to just find people that need help and help them. AtCon 2 is going to be a lot more polished, say that.
So last year you guys had like panels and cosplay contests. Are you going to do the same again?
Yeah, definitely. Except, again, last time we were, no one had ever done a online convention on Instagram. So it was the first time. We tried some pre-recorded things. They were interesting, but they weren't as engaging as something live. Now we have so much more familiarity with the live format that we want to make sure that, I want to try really hard to make every discussion panel live. And that's the goal, with the COVID-19 stuff. And, there could be an artist or celebrity that isn't, comfortable with the technology, even with working with us. So I could see that there might be a few pre-recorded bits, especially if we do a few really ambitious things that I'm planning. But for the most part, I'd say at least 90% of it's going to be live.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So across how many days do you think this is going to be?
Yeah, I know it's going to be multiple days. I would say, somewhere between 3 to 5 days.
Wow.
There's a lot of content. I would say at least 3 days at this point, and don't be surprised if it gets closer to 5.
Holy cow.
Wow. That's impressive.
Fantastic.
That's a huge undertaking.
Very cool.
It is. And I've actually, I have some help. I have great people working with me. It's not just me. And we were kind of talking a little bit before we started here that for these live sessions, I'm definitely going to have help. So I'm not going to be sitting there the whole time, just me, like I have been for a lot of these remedy tours.
Yeah, just sitting there for 9 hours without barely even getting up.
Giving you a lot of credit for that.
Yeah.
We've been there for
great...
the 9 full hours too, but we have the luxury of going to the bathroom and taking breaks to eat and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, I kind of sucked it up to get it off the ground, but even now, pretty soon on the remedy tour, I'm going to start switching off with some help and kind of get them. In a lot of ways, we're prepping for AtCon in some of this remedy tour, in some of these remedy tour stops.
You're figuring out how these things work.
Yeah, we're learning the techniques. So,
cool.
Is there anything different that you're doing this year that you didn't do last year?
For AtCon?
Yeah.
Yeah. So last time, all the live sessions, like the discussion panels, they were in-house Elite Comics only. So it was me, Bill, or someone here, Joe as well, Joe Foft, Bill Bowers, teammates of mine. We did all the live panels here. Now, again, with the practice we've got through the remedy tour with the split screen live sessions, we're going to be bringing people in. We're also going to have a physical location in Southern California where we can film people live there as well, and we'll be able to interact live. So like the live component, and not just being limited to people that are actually here in Elite Comics 11 Center, but people that are across the country. That's going to be the huge difference.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Wow. I'm excited for
Very
this.
cool. Yeah, I think it's worth noting for anyone who didn't know this, but you started this before any of this COVID, quarantine stuff came up. You started this last year as kind of a bold idea that's kind of becoming a norm now, where it's, people need something like this, and you were kind of providing the service, before it was even, people looking for it, which is awesome. But,
yeah. When I did the first AtCon, it really was just a thank you to the Instagram community, and none of this stuff had happened yet. And frankly, I didn't plan to do another one until sometime next year. But just when I was looking around and just seeing all the conventions being canceled, and for good reason. So there was a need, and I just decided, let's do it. But this time, let's bring in a lot of new partners. Let's make it bigger, bolder. And that's exactly what we're doing. So I'm really excited about it. I think the time is now, or at least in late June. There's a lot of work between now and then. We really want to deliver something special. So, but we are hard at work.
So no confirmed dates yet, right? Just as of now, late June.
I am in talks with some really, really interesting guests. And for that reason, I haven't set specific dates yet, but I think the target right now is late June.
Awesome. Very cool.
Cool deal.
All right. Well, we're excited too. You know, I think this is gonna, you know, provide a lot of, you know, a lot of necessary distraction and happiness to all our fans out there and people in general.
Yeah.
And I'll say, you know, like I said, our premier sponsors are CGC, Diamond, and WADA, and I'm working with them that they're going to actually go beyond just being sponsors. They're going to have some interesting involvement in the event as well. So
That's great.
I'm excited to announce some of that in the future.
That's really nice.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny that you mentioned that WADA is one of the sponsors. You know, just in the last couple of weeks or, you know, month maybe, we've seen an explosion of these, you know, graded video games everywhere. So it's just, you know, they're very prominent in the marketplace right now. So it's the collector marketplace at least.
Yeah.
So that's really cool to see them, you know, participating in this.
Yeah, we talked about it a little last time. I mean, in terms of like at least my demographic, like those original NES games, that's my childhood right there. So you see a lot of people that are into these graded comics, like a natural transition is like these graded games. It's not too far apart. So one interesting concept that I'm sure is going to be a huge part of, you know, WADA's involvement during AtCon is just talking about the differences and the similarities between the two. So
That's awesome.
a lot of us understand graded comics. We can apply some of that to graded games. But there are also differences that I'm sure, you know, just the education alone. And I'll also reveal that one thing I'm interested in doing, apart from just kind of providing the educational discourse, is to offer up some graded games for sale during the event.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, we know Toy Story is already interested. He's got the wheel spinning.
Yeah, we'll see.
Awesome. Do you guys have any more questions for him?
No, you got them answered.
It's just crazy how far like this, like these online sales like this on Instagram have come in just a couple months. You know, like when you first did AtCon a couple months. When was it? At the beginning of this year that you first did?
That was in February. Yeah.
Yeah, like I remember us being just like surprised at that very idea. Like, wow, no one's done anything like that before. And now these Instagram sales, these live environments that you see all the time now, it's crazy just how far it's come in such a short time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they say, what is it? Like, necessity is the mother of invention. I think that's kind of what's going on right now.
Everything's just so true right now.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I know we're all excited for it. I hope everybody, you know, who's listening to this definitely, you know, stays posted, follows at Elite Comics, at Elite_Comics 11.
That's correct.
Yeah. You know, you'll have all the information there. We'll be, you know, obviously sharing the information on, you know, all our social media sites as well. But we're really pumped. You know, we're excited. We're gonna have some involvement in it as well. And
That's right.
You know, we look forward for more information.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to have you guys on board. We have been discussing some really interesting involvement on your end, so I'm happy to have you on board. I'm proud of that, and yeah, I mean, I would just say I don't know if we're gonna talk Remedy Tour, but I will just point out: are we gonna go ahead and
jump right into it.
Yeah. So I've been doing Remedy Tour, which for those of you who haven't been watching on Elite Comics 11, it's a series of live stream events where we bring in like a local comic shop. Usually, sometimes it's a dealer that has been impacted by the COVID-19 restrictions and closures. And so we've been doing several of those shops and dealers. But I noticed, I'm a West Coast guy. We're here on the West Coast. It's been a little West Coast heavy. We started out on the East Coast. With Royal Collectibles, but I wanted to get back, you know, out of California. So this Saturday, actually, we're going to go to Silver Age Comics in Queens. We're going to go back to the East Coast. And one of the most interesting things that we've been talking about, Long Island comic book guys and Elite Comics 11, is that you guys are going to help facilitate some more East Coast involvement on this tour. There are a lot of people that need help. So I really appreciate you guys agreeing to do that. And I'm looking forward to working with you guys on that.
So are
Absolutely.
we.
We appreciate you, thinking of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good
All
stuff.
right. Well, you guys heard where we told you to stay tuned for all the information, at Elite Comics 11, at Long Island Comic Guys. Of course, subscribe. And if you're not already subscribed to Don't Feed the Geeks. And, I'm sure we're going to have more updates with Ali in the future about what's going on. So this won't be the last time you're hearing from him. But thank you again, Ali. We appreciate you joining us today. And we look forward to more information.
Yeah, man.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot.
All right.
I think we're going to wrap this up. Thanks to Ali at Elite Comics for that update on the AtCon 2 coming in the next couple months on Instagram. And again, thanks to Jimmy for that awesome interview. We had a great time, and hopefully we could do that again. So I guess until next time, remember,
Don't be the geeks!